Today, I'm going to show you a step-by-step process to transform your salary into wealth. Because unfortunately, for most people, a salary only serves to pay bills. And that's exactly why so many people are always in debt, burdened with debt, and without hope of getting out of it. But that ends now. In this video, I'm going to show you 6 simple steps you can follow to build more money than you ever imagined. The key to this is understanding that building wealth is like climbing a mountain. You don't reach the top all at once. You climb it step by step. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. First, we prepare for the climb. Then we follow the steps of the mountain method. Each letter represents an essential stage for you to finally leave stagnation behind and put your money to work. So let's break everything down. I'll start by following the order of the letters and then go back to the pre-climb phase to tie everything together. Starting with the first step, build your financial base. If you truly want to get out of financial struggle and start building a decent financial life, you must follow 2 steps in this exact order. Save $2,000 as fast as possible and pay off all high-interest debts, especially credit card debt. Now let me explain why, starting with the first step. The biggest mistake most people make is not having any cash reserve. Then when they try to pay off credit card debt, something unexpected happens. The car breaks down, the shower stops working, an emergency medical expense appears. And without any money saved, guess what happens? They go back to using the credit card and fall into debt again. What looked like 1 step forward turns into 2 steps back. You try to pay off the debt, but every emergency adds more weight to your shoulders. That's why, before anything else, your mission is to save $2,000 and keep that money untouchable. This is not yet your full emergency fund, but it already protects you from surprises that could throw you back into the debt cycle. Only after securing this initial reserve should you focus on paying off credit card debt. At this stage, we're not talking about investments or strategies to get rich. First, you need to get out of the hole. If you have credit card debt or don't have at least $2,000 saved, you are in what I call the financial danger zone. And what does that mean? It's simple. Banks and financial institutions see you as the ideal customer, someone with no money, in need of credit, and willing to accept absurd interest rates just to get temporary relief. While you're stuck in this cycle, companies are getting richer at your expense. So if you really want to get out of this situation, you have to cut everything that is not essential. The priority right now is to build a solid financial base and eliminate any expense that is absolutely unnecessary. That means no vacations, no restaurants, no useless shopping, and limited use of social media for at least 3 months. And now you might be thinking, are you kidding me? What does social media have to do with my finances if I don't pay anything to use them? Well, there's a famous saying, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. You only think social media is free. For example, how many times have you gone to a restaurant or a store or bought something just because you saw it on Instagram? Now tell me, if that hadn't appeared on your screen, would you have thought about buying it? Probably not. A survey revealed that 73% of Americans have already purchased a product or service based on recommendations from digital influencers. Is that wrong? Not necessarily. If you already needed something similar and it adds value to your life, that feedback is valid. But if you weren't even thinking about the product and it doesn't add anything to your life, then you simply threw money away. And if you don't even have $2,000 saved up, throwing money away here is utter foolishness. On average, people waste 9 hours a day on social media. Do you realize what that means? That's equivalent to 1/3 of your life. Those are 9 hours you could be reading a book, taking a course, learning a new skill, exercising. There are so many things you could be doing instead of scrolling down a screen. And it gets worse. Prolonged use of social media increases depression and anxiety. It also reduces self-esteem, concentration, and productivity, which directly impacts your income. It causes sleep problems, affects physical health through sedentary behavior and vision problems. And last but not least, it creates dependency and addiction. This results in you never being able to do anything that requires more brain power. You basically become an amoeba living on autopilot. So the answer is yes. Social media has everything to do with your finances. If you are in debt, you shouldn't feel comfortable spending hours on social media. What you need to do now is leave the danger zone. Use this free time to read books, watch educational videos on YouTube, or listen to podcasts about making more money and saving better. You can even start a business, or if you prefer, work more. That could mean driving for apps like Uber, doing side gigs, or any activity that generates extra income. Your immediate goal is to pay off your credit card debt and save $2,000 as fast as possible. After that stage, everything becomes easier and even more fun. But don't just hear this advice and ignore it. This is the crucial moment. Everyone says they want to get out of debt and buy whatever they want without worrying about money. But few are willing to make the necessary sacrifices. Now let's move on to the next step. Organize your money. This step is about creating a system for your finances. Most people receive their salary, pay their bills, buy a few new things, and at the end of the month, ask themselves where all their money went. The truth is that without a system, money simply disappears. Now, I'm going to teach you how to manage your money like the top 1%. For that, we're going to use the 75-15-10 rule. It works like this. 75% of your income is the maximum you can spend on your lifestyle. 15% is for savings, and 10% is for investments. 15% of your income is the minimum you must invest, and 10% of your income is the minimum you must save. And why does this rule work so well? First, you stop spending all your money because you're forced to live on 75% of what you earn. Second, you invest before anything else. Third, you save before anything else. That's how wealth is built. The 15% you invest is what will actually build your wealth over time, and the 10% you save will protect you from emergencies. Now you might be thinking, how am I supposed to live on just 75% of my salary if things are already tight? Think about it this way. When you receive your paycheck, the government already takes a portion in taxes before you even see the money. You don't feel that loss because you never had the money in your hands. Now I want you to be your own government and tax yourself. The difference is that this tax won't hurt you. It will make you rich. If the government raised taxes tomorrow, you'd complain, but you'd still find a way to pay. You wouldn't just ignore it. So do the same with your own money. Find a way to tax yourself, guaranteeing that there will always be money set aside to save and invest. To make this work, you'll need 3 accounts. One account for daily expenses, where your living money stays. Another account for investments, where the money that will be invested goes. And a third account for savings, where your emergency fund stays. As soon as you receive your paycheck, the money should be automatically transferred to the correct accounts before you have a chance to spend it. This prevents accidental overspending and guarantees that you are always saving and investing. If you need to adjust your lifestyle to make this possible, do whatever is necessary. If you have an expensive car, trade it for a cheaper used one. If your rent is too high, it might be time to move to a more affordable place. And this is not the right time for trips. Leave that for later when you're financially stable. All of this is temporary. The goal is to make your investments grow because they are what will generate money even when you are not working. Before you think, people will think I'm struggling, let me tell you something. A few years ago, I worked at a company that paid me very well. My family was proud. My friends called me rich. But after 2 years, I realized that job wasn't for me anymore. Even though I earned well, I was extremely stressed. My hair started falling out, and I almost fell into depression. That's when I decided to quit and try making money on the internet. Everyone questioned my decision, but no one knew how bad I was feeling or that the company was actually losing money. In the end, I now earn almost the same as before, but working for myself and feeling much better. That's why I say don't care about what others think of you. You are the only one who will suffer the consequences of your choices. If you don't want to lower your lifestyle just to look rich in other people's eyes, that's fine. But you need to understand that this will have consequences in the future. You will probably not be able to invest as much as you could. You won't be able to save properly, and your debts will likely continue to grow over time. That said, once you understand that you need to reduce expenses in order to save and invest, the next question naturally comes up. Where should you invest? Calm down. Let's take this step by step. Before investing anywhere, you need to understand which game you want to play. Do you want to be a passive or active investor? Do you want your money invested automatically, or do you prefer to look for opportunities on your own? Do you want to invest in stocks, real estate, startups, index funds, or cryptocurrencies? Do you prefer passive income or capital appreciation? And most importantly, how old are you? All of this matters when deciding where to put your money. One key rule is to always look for investments that yield more than 10% per year, which is the minimum needed to avoid being eaten away by inflation. To do that, you need to study investments. So use the time you gain by staying off social media for this purpose. Here are a few examples of assets that have returned more than 10% per year over the last 5 years. This is not investment advice, just examples. In stocks, we have WEG3 with around 18.25% per year, and Embraer, EMBR3, with about 26.24% per year. Among index funds, Viva Mashabat for B11 returned around 20.21% per year. Real estate can yield up to 13% per year when you combine appreciation and rental income. Fixed income currently also yields a bit more than 10% per year. And of course, Bitcoin, which had an average annual return of about 67.7% over the last 5 years. The key here is understanding which game you want to play and making smart investments. Most people's mistake is not investing in the wrong place. The real mistake is never starting. So just start. Create a system for your money, automate your investments, and learn along the way. Over time, you'll make more sophisticated and intelligent decisions. The third step is neutralizing interest. Now we climb even higher on the mountain of wealth. But before enjoying the view, we need to talk about a fundamental concept: living without interest. This means two main things. First, stop financing things that don't put money in your pocket. Second, follow the rule of 5. We live in a society that loves spending money, and even more, spending money it doesn't have. The economic system depends on credit, which is why loans, credit cards, and installments are everywhere. But if you want a life that most people only dream of, you can't keep doing what everyone else does. The government itself is deeply in debt, and the system encourages you to do the same. Today, it's easier than ever to finance anything, and the government is even considering allowing food to be paid in installments. But if you want to live a life that most people only dream of, you cannot keep doing what everyone else does. If you do what the majority does, you will end up like the majority, broke and in debt. If you want different results, you need to think differently. That means you must stop financing unnecessary things, even if they come with interest-free installments. No financing a new phone, no financing designer clothes you can't afford, and no financing things that don't generate money. The only exception to this rule is your home. Now you might be thinking, what about a car? You won't like hearing this, but if you don't have the money to buy a car in cash, then financially speaking, the best decision is not to buy one. I know that daily life is tough, but it doesn't make sense to pay almost triple for something that depreciates and still has a very high monthly cost. That way you lose money on all sides. If you really need a car, look for inexpensive cars, at most 30 or 50,000. More than that, in my opinion, isn't worth it, because in the end, A 30,000 car will get you to the same place as one costing 100 or 200,000. And no, I'm not against having a luxury car, but you need to have the financial strength to afford it. Now let's talk about the rule of five, which you should always follow when buying something. It's very simple. If you can't buy 5 units of a luxury item, then you shouldn't buy even one. Many people think that if they have 5,000 in their account, they can spend all 5,000 on a phone. But that's the wrong mindset. If you want to buy something luxurious, like clothes, a new phone, or anything expensive, only buy it if you can afford 5 units of it. This ensures that you're not just spending money impulsively and that your net worth continues to grow while you still enjoy life. Now we're getting closer to the top of the mountain of wealth, and we reach a crucial point, transforming your income. Now that you're investing and seeing results, you realize something important. If you invest more money, the results will be even better. If you're following the 75-15-10 plan, that means you spend 75% of what you earn, invest 15%, and save 10%. But as you see your investments grow, the desire to invest even more appears. So what should you do? The first thing many people do is try to cut expenses even further, maybe switching to a 70-20-10 version of the plan. And yes, reducing unnecessary expenses is a good start, but there is a limit to how much you can cut. When it comes to how much you can earn, however, there is no limit. I'm not saying you should stop saving, but your growth potential is much greater when you focus on increasing your income. For example, let's say you earn $3,000 to $3,500 per month. Maybe you can cut some expenses and invest an extra $100 per month. But what if instead you increase your income to $5,000? Now, instead of struggling to invest a little more, you can invest an extra $500. There are many ways to multiply your income. Starting a business, doing side jobs, asking for a raise, getting promoted, changing careers, taking courses or certifications, or going back to school. The key point is that you must find ways to put more money into the system. Whether you earn $3,000, $5,000, or $50,000, the system remains the same. You spend a portion, invest a portion, and save a portion. The difference is that the more you earn, the more you invest and save without having to sacrifice your lifestyle. This allows you to live better while still building wealth. Now we reach the top of the mountain, where you need to expand your mindset, to think big. The concept is simple. Why settle for 100,000 invested if 10 million would be much better? Many people limit themselves because they grow up hearing that they must be realistic, not dream too big, and avoid risks. This mindset keeps people stuck in a comfort zone and prevents true financial independence. This idea is well explored in the book The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. He explains that most people overestimate the effort needed to achieve big results, so they aim too low. The central idea is simple. If you want a certain level of success, multiply your efforts by 10. Even if you don't reach exactly 10 times, you'll still be far beyond where you started. Well, I finally finished this. It really took a lot of work to do, so at least leave a like. And if you stayed until the end, comment on the way to 1,000 subscribers. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to change the way you deal with money in practice and learn the best method for financial freedom, the ebook link is in the description with a 60% discount for a limited time. I'll leave it here and see you next time.